Yeah, but we're going to skip past spring. Enjoy spring today because it's kind of gone tomorrow. Been saying it all week and we're going to do it some more. In fact, yeah, just take off your jacket, wear a vest. It's one of those kind of days out there. And it's Friday, why not? All right, it's sunny out there. Blue skies all around. Look at Morgan's Wonderland Camp, Calaveras Lake, Sky Camp, San Antonio Airport. So much blue out there. If you have a 3-day weekend and you're off today, good for you. Enjoy the beautiful weather outside. If you don't like being outside in the warmth, you can look at it through your window. Let's take a look at the numbers and see how we're doing. So much blue out there. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Take a look. San Antonio seeing a temperature of 76 degrees, so it is a warm one out there. We're close to yesterday's high temperature. We're getting there at least. Feels like 76, of course. It is a little breezy out there. South winds right now sitting there at 11 miles per hour, so that's helping to cool you off if it's getting a little too warm for you. This is going to be nothing, though, once we get into the weekend. Dew point at 53 is pretty far from the air temperature, and when that happens, the humidity is low, much lower than yesterday at this time, down to 45%. The barometer down a little bit from yesterday. We've got a ridge of high pressure overhead, and when you have a ridge of high pressure, the barometer is higher, and it's been fairly high lately, showing us that ridge is firmly in charge of our overall weather pattern. Temperatures as of the noon hour, they are fairly seasonable for average highs this time of year. San Antonio sitting at 76 degrees, also 76 in New Braunfels. San Marcos 79, 84 Carrizo Springs, 80 for George West and Cotulla, 70 in Del Rio Eagle Pass. Over to the warm spots at 81. Kennedy also sitting at 81. Gonzales 78 and Hallettsville sitting there at a temperature of 76. Of course, when we have high pressure here, that usually means the air sinks underneath it. And when the air sinks, it dries out and warms up. And as the air dries out, we just don't get rainfall because there's just no cloud cover. It's going to stay this way for quite a while, too, unfortunately. This ridge of high pressure firmly in charge. It's not going to budge for the most part anytime soon. Here it is, right over here over the desert southwest. They've been baking under excessive heat warnings. It's been a historic heat wave for them. We're on the eastern side of that high as the winds around it flow in a clockwise direction. So for the most part, that means we're on the stable side of the high. We do have some clouds trying to move in aloft, some moisture aloft, but for the most part, a lot of dry air across much of the south. That's how it's going to stay for a while. Here's the upper level pattern. You see the big ridge of high pressure here. Then there's the jet stream. That's this big track just to the north of it. That's the main storm track. Storms like to follow that track. It's well to our north because of that ridge of high pressure, so storm activity just isn't making it down here. We need a big pattern change to make it happen. Now, as we head into the weekend and the first part of next week, that ridge is going to back off to the west a little bit. All that's going to do is open the door for a little bit of energy to make its way down here, not in the form of rainfall, not even much in the way of cloud cover. All it's going to do is knock our temperatures back down out of the 90s from the weekend into the 80s. That's going to swing on through. After that passes on out, this high pressure ridge is going to try to work its way back in here. But notice the center of it really isn't going to change all that much. It's going to sit between Texas and, say, the West Coast over the next several days to a week. And it's going to keep all these storms well to our north as the jet stream is parked to the north. So chances for rain just aren't going to be here, and we're seeing a worsening drought to go along with that. So that's for the next 2 weeks. Let's walk you through the next few days to get you through the weekend. Hour-by-hour forecast starts you out at 5 o'clock this afternoon. Keep your eyes on that clock, the timestamp in the corner. Notice we have more 90s out there than we've seen lately, so most of us today ending up around 90 degrees for a daytime high. So definitely warmer than yesterday. Toward the coast, that's where you have to go to get any cooler air. Temperatures there staying in the middle to upper 70s for daytime highs. As we head into your day on Saturday, we're pretty much going to hit the repeat button in the world of weather. We've been doing it all week, but we're going to turn the temperatures up a little bit. So we're going to start out mostly clear in the morning, just like we have for the last several mornings. We do see a few more clouds showing up, mainly toward the coast and eastern counties and the coastal plain. That's just a sign that there's a little bit more moisture in the air. Most of us will wake up to mostly clear skies. Temperatures again starting in the 50s, not deep down in the 50s like the past few mornings, more like the middle and upper 50s. And by the end of the day, we see a lot more red on the map. We see a whole bunch of 90s out there. And you see 97 Del Rio, 98 Eagle Pass for your Saturday afternoon. Those are temperatures at that moment, likely seeing a high around 100 in our southern and western counties. San Antonio easily in the low to mid 90s, Hill Country also clipping the lower 90s on your Saturday. And if you like the heat, good news for you, it is here to stay as we round out the weekend. Mostly clear skies again on your Sunday. Again, a few more clouds toward the coastal plain. Further off to the west, drier air, not as much cloud cover, really no cloud cover. Most of us mostly clear. We'll start out in the middle to upper 50s again on your Saturday morning. And just like your Sunday, we'll be baking under the heat once again. Highs near 100 in our southwestern counties, low 90s and upper 80s in the Hill Country, and low to mid 90s for everyone else. And you'll see all this sunshine, and that's rounding out the weekend. We should cool off from there. Not a whole lot, but hey, we'll take what we can get. Little break from the early summer-like heat in the first few days of spring. Here's the drought report. It comes out every Thursday. Unfortunately, it did get a little bit worse, only by about 0.5% to 1%, but that does make a big difference. And you see those exceptional drought areas to the south and west of San Antonio and also southwest of Corpus Christi, but a good chunk of us under at least an extreme drought, and that is the second worst category. And with that pattern change not happening, Probably not going to see any improvement anytime soon. For the weekend, fire danger high across the area, high to very high. So try to limit outdoor burning with all that heat and dry air. Any gust of wind could easily carry any ember. So keep your eyes on anything if you're grilling during the weekend. So we started in the 50s. We'll end up in the 80s by the end of the day, a high temperature of 89 degrees. Not too bad, I would say. Almost Chamber of Commerce weather, maybe a little bit hotter. And you can see there, 89 today, 94 tomorrow. We'll do it again on Sunday, a high of 94. Hot stuff all weekend long with plenty of sunshine. And then we'll see it mostly sunny for the rest of that forecast, at least for the first half of the forecast. Temperatures ending up in the upper 80s and low 90s. And then we're finally going to add a little chance for rain. Looks like a pattern change hopefully happening in the second half of that forecast, adding some 20 to 30% chances for rain. We'll fine tune that as it gets closer, but it's definitely a good sign that things could be changing in the near future, the somewhat near future. We'll call it medium future, Sarah. How's that?